When I was in second grade, reading aloud meant walking to the front of the classroom to perform what felt like karaoke, except without the lyrics on the screen. My workaround? I memorized books. Not because I chased perfection, but because I was terrified. I couldn't decode the words, so I decoded the room. I learned when to nod, when to smile, and when to pretend I meant to turn the same page twice. Today, I'm back in front of the classroom, and my second grade self is here with me. Knees knocking a little, reminding me what fear feels like and what courage can sound like. Courage for me eventually had a name: dyslexia. Hearing that word brought out two things at once. First, fear, because I didn't understand it yet. And second, relief, because I finally had a name for what I'd been feeling and hiding. Years later at CC, that personal story became a professional question. As a psychology and education major, I kept wondering, what does a label like dyslexia do to a learner's mind, to their confidence, to their future? Through my research for my theses and interviews with students, families, and teachers, I learned something simple and profound. Labels don't carry a fixed meaning. People do. We need to stop treating labels as destinations and start using them as directions. Stop pulling kids out and mystifying difference. We have to start building real supports into the classroom and teaching students to advocate for themselves. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Henry was one of my third grade students diagnosed with dyslexia and ADHD. His big brown eyes and white sneakers peeked out from beneath the third grade desk like a flag of surrender. Not at the third grade desk, but beneath the third grade desk. I crawled underneath the worn wood beside him and guided him through breathing exercises as he rocked back and forth. My lead teacher said, "This is just what Henry does." But under that table, I didn't see a behavioral problem. I saw a child crushed by the expectations he did not yet have the tools to meet. My experience with Henry inspired my research at CC. I've identified 3 principles that I will take forward into my professional life. First, use a label as a key, not a cage. Let the label open rights and resources. Access is the start, but not the whole story. Second, design for difference from the start. When access is built in, clear expectations, multiple ways to show learning, in-class scaffolds, support becomes normal, not special. Good design keeps the door open even after the key turns. Third, keep learning together. Without lowering expectations, scaffold the task instead of sending the student out of the room. Belonging and challenge should live in the same space. If you remember one thing, let it be this. Use the label for access, then design for belonging, so support becomes ordinary and everyone learns together. It would be false to say that I no longer felt what I did in second grade. Standing here, some of my old vulnerabilities are awake. I still over-rehearse the tricky words. I still plan my path through a paragraph. But I've learned to work with that feeling, to turn it into a steady self-resilience and practice. Resilience didn't make me less dyslexic. It taught me how to keep on showing up, doing the work well, and asking for what I need. And as Henry reminded me, sometimes the difference is who sits beside you, underneath the desk or at a lab table, until the nervous system settles and learning can begin again. I arrived at CC excited to be at a college where students learn deeply and often differently, with or without a label. Many times that hope was confirmed. Professors who made expectations clear and flexible, peers who invited others in. Sometimes that door didn't open on the first knock. These varying experiences taught me something essential. Access isn't automatic. It is built into the way that our courses and communities are designed. When we design for difference and keep learning together, students like me don't have to be less dyslexic to be more successful. Make the world better can sound lofty, but my research has helped me reframe it. The world gets better one learner at a time in small, repeatable moments. A professor who keeps you in the lab instead of sending you down the hall, a syllabus that assumes variety, a peer who says, here's how I did it. Those moments build identity, identity builds confidence, and confidence mixed with skill builds a life. I was struck by what this means, by what it can really mean. This year, while I was interviewing Henry for my senior thesis, he grinned up at me and said, remember when you'd sit under the desk with me? That made such a big difference. The label in his file didn't change in that moment, but the way that we responded did. Meeting him where he was, keeping him in the learning, and giving him the tools to rejoin the room with dignity. Today, we celebrate a community that President Whitaker has helped to shape, first as a professor and executive leader, now as president, where difference is ordinary and celebrated. I'm inspired by her commitment to design a campus where every student is seen, challenged, supported, and unafraid to meet the world in their own way. Because somewhere a second grader is memorizing a book to hide their struggle, one day that student will stand here too, if we set the table now by naming truths early, using keys wisely, wearing labels lightly, and learning together. I'll end with a line adapted from Ralph Waldo Emerson. To help even one life breathe easier, that is success. So if you do one thing after today, look behind the label. Use it to open a door, and then hold that door open so that belonging, high expectations, and success can walk through together. President Whitaker, you've been opening doors at CC for years. Let's continue holding them open together and shape students with the confidence and conviction to hold them open for others. Thank you.